At 7:03 on Monday morning, the most powerful man in the building was standing alone in a dirty hallway, holding a mop. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody recognized the expensive watch hidden beneath his cheap blue uniform. And nobody noticed that the quiet janitor they had been, ignoring all morning, actually owned the company. His name was Daniel Hayes. At 38, Daniel was the CEO of Hayes International, a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He had a reputation for being brilliant, disciplined, and almost impossible to read. But there was one thing Daniel had become tired of. People treated him well because of his position. They smiled when he entered a room. They laughed at jokes that weren't funny. They opened doors for him. They offered him the best chair, the best coffee, and the best version of themselves. Daniel wanted to know something simple. Who would treat him kindly if they thought he had nothing to offer? So he made a decision. For 1 week, Daniel would secretly work inside his own company as a janitor. No assistants, no security, no expensive suit, just a faded uniform, worn shoes, and a name tag that read David. Before we continue, if stories about kindness, humanity, and unexpected second chances touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Kindness of Power, and tell us in the comments, which city and country are you watching from? Daniel pushed his cleaning cart toward the executive floor. The first employee he passed barely looked at him. "Move that cart," a manager snapped. "You're blocking the hallway." Daniel quietly moved it. "Sorry." The manager didn't respond. Later that morning, an executive assistant dropped a stack of papers near Daniel's feet. "Pick those up." Daniel bent down and collected them. "Thank you," he said softly. She stared at him. "I wasn't thanking you." Then she walked away. Daniel stood there. For a moment, he wasn't angry. He was disappointed. By Tuesday, the experiment had become painful. Employees left empty coffee cups on tables even when the trash can was inches away. Someone deliberately spilled a drink in the hallway and laughed when Daniel had to clean it. One man even said, "That's what janitors are paid for." Daniel said nothing. Then, around noon, something unexpected happened. A young woman entered the hallway carrying a stack of folders. She was clearly new. Her ID badge read Maya Carter, Management Trainee. She was 24, nervous and struggling to balance everything in her arms. One folder slipped. Daniel immediately reached out and caught it. "Careful," he said. Maya smiled. "Thank you." She looked at his cart. "You've been working all morning. Have you eaten?" Daniel froze. No one had asked him that in 2 days. "I'm fine." Maya frowned. "That's not what I asked." Daniel almost smiled. "I haven't eaten." "Then come with me." He blinked. "Where?" "The cafeteria." Maya picked up her folders. "You can sit with me?" Daniel hesitated. "I don't think I'm supposed to." Maya shrugged. "Why not?" "You're a person." Those 3 words struck him harder than she could ever. "No, you're a person, not a janitor. Not an employee at the bottom of the company. Not someone invisible. A person." Maya bought him lunch. It wasn't fancy, just soup, bread, and a small bottle of water. But Daniel had never tasted a more meaningful meal. They sat at a corner table. Maya talked nervously about her first week. She told him she had dreams of becoming a manager one day. She also confessed that she was afraid she would fail. Daniel listened. "You know," he said, "sometimes the people who are afraid of failing are the ones who care the most about succeeding." Maya smiled. "You don't talk like a janitor." Daniel almost choked on his water. "What does a janitor talk like?" "I don't know," she laughed. "But you sound educated." Daniel smiled for the first time in months. Then Maya noticed something. His hands were rough from cleaning. But his posture wasn't that of a janitor. He carried himself like someone accustomed to being obeyed. Before she could ask another question, a senior manager appeared. "David!" Daniel stood. The manager pointed toward a conference room. There was a mess in there. Clean it immediately. Maya looked uncomfortable. Can't you see he's eating? The manager stared at her. Are you questioning me? Maya swallowed. No. Then mind your business. He walked away. Daniel quietly stood and picked up his cart. Maya whispered. I'm sorry. Daniel looked at her. Don't be. Then she said something that would change everything. People shouldn't need a title before they deserve respect. Daniel stopped walking for the first time during his experiment. He realized something, maybe. This week wasn't about discovering how cruel people could be. Maybe it was about finding the one person who still knew how to be kind, but Daniel didn't know that Maya's kindness was about to cost her everything. Because on Wednesday morning, the company's ruthless operations director, Richard Cole, accused Maya of stealing confidential documents, and the only person who knew she was innocent was the silent janitor everyone ignored, Daniel. Maya stood inside the conference room with tears in her eyes. I didn't steal anything. Richard Cole slammed a folder onto the table. The documents were found in your locker. Maya stared at him in disbelief. Someone put them there. Richard laughed. Of course. And I suppose the janitor did it too? Daniel stood outside the glass doors, holding his cleaning cart. He had heard everything. The documents contained confidential information about a major company acquisition. If they were leaked, Hayes International could lose millions. Richard turned toward Maya. You're suspended until further notice. Maya's lips trembled. But I didn't do it. Daniel watched her walk out of the room. She passed him without noticing. For the first time all week, Daniel felt something stronger than disappointment. Anger. He knew Maya was innocent, and he knew exactly who had framed her. Richard. Daniel had noticed something during his time cleaning the executive floor. Richard often entered restricted offices late at night. And on Tuesday evening, Daniel had seen him near the records room, but Daniel couldn't reveal everything yet. If he exposed himself too early, the entire purpose of his experiment would collapse. That afternoon, Maya sat alone on a bench outside the building. Her career was over before it had even begun. Daniel approached quietly. You're giving up? She looked up. I don't know what else to do. Daniel sat beside her. You told me once that people shouldn't need a title before they deserve respect. Maya wiped her tears. I still believe that. Then believe in yourself too. She looked at him. You're strange, David. Daniel smiled. So I've been told. The next morning, Daniel arrived early, but instead of cleaning, he walked straight into the security office. He had spent the night reviewing the company's security system remotely. There was footage, clear footage. At 11:42 p.m. Tuesday night, Richard had entered the records room. He had placed the confidential documents inside Maya's locker. Daniel saved the recording. Then he called the company's board chairman. It's time, Daniel said. There was silence on the other end. Are you sure? Daniel looked down at his janitor's uniform. Yes. At 10 a.m., every senior executive was called into the main conference room. Maya was there too. She had been asked to attend because the accusation against her was being reviewed. Richard stood confidently at the front. This young trainee has damaged the company's trust, he said. Then the conference room doors opened. Daniel walked in. Still wearing the blue janitor uniform, Richard frowned. David, this is a private meeting. Daniel continued walking. Then he removed his cap. The room became silent. One executive stood so quickly, his chair fell backward. Mr. Hayes? Maya's eyes widened. Daniel looked at her. She slowly covered her mouth. The quiet janitor she had shared lunch with was the CEO. Richard went pale. Daniel placed the security footage on the screen. Nobody spoke. The recording showed everything. Richard entering the records room. Richard taking the documents. Richard placing them in Maya's locker. Richard had no explanation. Daniel turned toward him. You spent years telling employees that respect had to be earned. Richard's face tightened. But you forgot something. Daniel looked around the room. Respect is not measured by someone's position. He pointed toward Maya. She treated a man she believed was a janitor with more dignity than some people have treated me as CEO. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Daniel continued. And that tells me everything I need to know about who deserves to be here. Richard was removed from the company that afternoon, but Daniel didn't stop there. He changed the company culture. He created a program that allowed employees at every level to anonymously report disrespect and abuse. He increased wages for support staff. He created scholarships for trainees, and he promoted Maya, not because she had been kind to the CEO, but because she had proven who she was when she believed nobody important was watching. Months later, Maya entered Daniel's office. She was now a junior manager. "I still can't believe you were the janitor," she said. Daniel laughed. "I was," she smiled. "You know what surprised me?" "What?" "You never acted like a CEO." Daniel looked out the window. "Maybe that's because for 1 week I finally remembered what being human felt like." Maya smiled. Then Daniel handed her a small envelope. Inside was a note. It read, "Never change the way you treat people when nobody important is watching." Maya looked up. "I won't." And Daniel knew he had received something more valuable than any business deal. He had found proof that kindness still existed. Sometimes the people we ignore are carrying stories we will never understand. Sometimes the person cleaning the floor has more dignity than the person sitting in the corner office. And sometimes one simple act of kindness can change a life forever. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Kindness of Power and stay with us for more stories that remind us that compassion, dignity, and kindness still matter, because you never know. The person standing quietly beside you today might be the person who changes your life tomorrow.